On today's broadcast, President Park Geun-hye and Chinese President Xi Jinping discuss North Korea's nuclear program in Bali, Indonesia. Prosecutors begin questioning former officials of the Nomu-shun administration, and the National Archives of Japan turns up an official document showing women were forced into sex slavery during World War II. This is KBS World Radio News. I'm Bruce Harrison. President Park Geun-hye held talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday. The two met on the sidelines of a regional economic forum where Park stressed China's role in the economic development of North Korea. President Xi said China is against North Korea possessing nuclear weapons and conducting nuclear tests. Our Kim In-kyung reports.
South Korean President Park Geun-hye met with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in Bali, Indonesia on Monday. Park said many North Korean residents are suffering from chronic malnourishment, and now is not the time for the North to put everything into nuclear arms. She asked Xi to persuade Pyongyang to give up developing nuclear weapons and focus on economic development. She said close cooperation between South Korea and China is extremely important for North Korea to make the right decision. She also thanked Xi for being concerned about North Korean escapees and for conveying a hope to North Korea to create a peace park at the demilitarized zone. Park said follow-up measures to upgrade the two countries' relations are taking place step by step after discussions at the bilateral summit in June. She said China is against North Korea becoming a nuclear state and is firmly opposed to it conducting more nuclear tests. On bilateral relations between South Korea and China, she said the two countries have become important partners in all areas. He said they have established regular dialogue in almost all areas, including diplomacy, parliament, defense, economy, and trade. He also said political trust has deepened through mutual efforts. An official at the presidential office said the summit is meaningful and that it took place while the security crisis in Northeast Asia is deepening due to strained South-North relations, as well as Japan's military ambitions and conservative swing. Kim In-kyung, KBS World Radio News.
Member states of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, Forum agreed over the weekend to continue working for trade and investment liberalization through 2020. Seoul's Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy said Monday the foreign and trade ministers of APEC adopted a joint statement on Saturday at the end of the APEC ministerial meeting in Bali, Indonesia. They reaffirmed their efforts to uphold the 1994 Bogor Declaration. Ministers also agreed it's important to restore faith in the multilateral trade system by producing results at the 9th World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference in December. The joint ministerial declaration in Bali also included efforts to strengthen cooperation for sustainable growth in areas of energy development and use and food security. In the ministers' meeting, South Korean Trade Minister Yoon Song-jik said the success of the WTO conference is very important in strengthening the multilateral trade regime. He expressed Korea's will to help make this happen. Ruling Saenuri Party Chairman Hwang Woo-ya has vowed to help secure funding for the government's welfare plans without a tax hike. Speaking at the National Assembly on Monday, Hwang said the ruling party is jointly responsible for keeping the president's campaign pledges and will do its best to implement them. He promised his best efforts to avoid higher taxes but promote fairness in taxation and save tax revenue by fighting corruption, bringing the underground economy into the legitimate sphere, and reducing tax loopholes. Hwang also addressed criticism President Park Geun-hye retreated from her campaign promise on welfare for senior citizens. He said the president did not retreat from her pledge, as the pension plan has been adjusted to current economic conditions and will be expanded in phases. On the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit transcript controversy, Hwang proposed rival parties declare the defense of the NLL in a parliamentary resolution to confirm there's no partisan disagreement in defending the nation's western maritime border on the Yellow Sea. On reforming the National Intelligence Service, Hwang proposed the agency should be revamped to focus solely on its mission against communism and terrorism and by no means intervene in politics. The main opposition Democratic Party denounced Huang's speech, calling it a list of empty sentences without any substantial action plans. Democratic Party floor spokeswoman Representative Yi Eun-ju said the speech did not show any sense of responsibility or self-reflection, as the ruling party only sought to rationalize the administration's push for its policies. Prosecutors investigating the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit transcript scandal have begun questioning officials from the administration of former President Roh Moo-hyun. The Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office called in former Presidential Secretary for Security Cho Myung-kyun on Saturday. Former Presidential Secretary for Records Im Song-kyung will be questioned Monday. Questioning will focus on why the summit transcript was not transferred to the National Intelligence Agency and why the first draft was deleted from the Roh administration's file management system. Prosecutors plan to call in some 30 former officials who were involved in the drafting, storage, and transfer of the transcript. The former aides say President Roh did not order the deletion of the file and only minor corrections were made to the first draft, such as corrections to inaccurate expressions.
You're now listening to the news from KBS World Radio's News Center in Seoul, Korea.
Evidence that foreign women were forced into sex slavery by the Japanese military during World War II has been found at the National Archives of Japan. On a request by a civic group to disclose the information, the archives recently unveiled an official document showing Japanese troops forced 35 Dutch women detained in a prisoner camp in Indonesia to serve as so-called comfort women. The 530-page document includes court records convicting 5 former Japanese officers and 4 civilians of rape in Indonesia after the war was over. It also includes defendant testimonies made later on in Japan. A former Japanese Army lieutenant general was one of the convicted and received a 12-year sentence. The record states the lieutenant general was ordered by an officer in 1944 to take the detained Dutch women to 4 brothels where he threatened them into prostitution. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe remains unchanged in his stance that statements directly showing the women were forced into the brothels by the Japanese military are not in the records. The Korea Customs Service says it has found dozens of Korean companies and people made illegal foreign currency transactions by setting up paper companies in offshore tax havens. The Customs Agency traced since June the money transaction records of South Korean-owned paper companies in offshore tax havens such as the Virgin Islands. The Korea Customs Service reported 48 representatives of 40 companies to the prosecution for illegal foreign currency transactions. Of the 40 companies, 5 were reported to the National Tax Service for evading taxes of 15 billion won. The Korea Customs Service said the combined illegal transactions amount to more than 1 trillion won. The companies inflated import prices to send more money abroad than needed or hid dividend incomes of their overseas branches in the tax havens. 17 of the 48 people were also on a list of South Koreans who set up paper companies in offshore tax havens, which was released by an independent journalist group in May. The Customs Agency plans to report more of the companies to the National Tax Service if they are also found to have evaded taxes. Financial authorities say around 49,000 people have invested in debt-ridden Dongyong Group. Authorities say the investors bought corporate bonds or bills through Dongyong Securities that were issued by its affiliates, such as Dongyong Leisure, Dongyong International, and Dongyong Cement and Energy. As of October 5th, the Financial Supervisory Service received 7,396 investor complaints related to Dongyong Group. The financial watchdog predicts more investors will file complaints about their financial losses from investments in the conglomerate. Victims facing losses over the Dongyong crisis plan to hold a rally in Seoul on Wednesday to urge financial authorities to devise support measures that minimize their losses. Last week, Dongyong Group filed for court receivership for 5 of its affiliates. The number of foreigners living in South Korea with permanent residency has more than quadrupled over the past 4 years. The Justice Ministry's Korea Immigration Service said as of late August this year, 95,000 foreigners held permanent residency, up from 22,000 in late 2009. Analysts say the number has surged since the government eased rules on granting permanent residency to ethnic Koreans from foreign countries in December 2009. Leading South Korean gymnast Yeon Hak-son has won the vault title at the 2013 World Artistic Gymnastics Championships. At the finals in Belgium on Sunday, Yeon took gold with an average 15.533 in his first and second attempts. He beat his second-place competitor by more than 0.28 points. South Korean shares have closed slightly lower on selling by institutions. The benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index on Monday dropped 2.56 points to close at 1,994.42. The tech-heavy Kosdaq also fell 3.57 points, closing at 528.44. The local currency, meanwhile, lost 1.2 won against the U.S. dollar to close at 1,071.5 won.